This is where the future Jewish Museum of Lisbon will stand. The project will carry the signature of prestigious architect Daniel Libeskind. World-renowned, he is responsible for the projects of numerous museums, including the Jewish Museum in Berlin, as well as the Ground Zero Master Plan in New York. Lisbon will no longer be one of the European capitals without a Jewish museum.
I was very surprised, given the powerful history, powerful Jewish history, that, is history of amazing things, including amazing tragedies and amazing distortions of Jewish history. I was amazed that such a museum did not yet exist. The reason I accepted this challenge to build a Jewish museum on Portuguese Jews is because the history and the story of Portugal and of the great city of Lisbon is very familiar to me, and it's very close to my own history. So yes, between the amazing history of Portuguese Jews, the beauty of Lisbon, and the need to share the story with the world. The museum is more than just a motivation to build a building. I'm inspired to create an architecture that speaks to people, that communicates in its own architectural ways through the light, through the materials, through the sense of the genius loci of where it's located. The story, which of course museologically will be a fascinating one, one that the world has never really heard before. We will use local materials. We will use the famous tiles that Lisbon is famous for. We're going to use modern materials. And of course, we're going to make a building that is sustainable, that is really example of really 21st century technology to create a place that is memorable and that really transmits that memory to a great public. When I saw this amazing site, you can see from the site of the future Jewish Museum in Lisbon, you can see the Belém Tower. I thought of a conversation between Vasco da Gama and Abraham Zacuto, who is the inventor and a great rabbi and a great Jewish historian, but also a great mathematician who created the astrolabe for Vasco da Gama's trip to India. So yes, I thought that seeing that site is physically actually seeing the history of Jews in Portugal going all the way to the Renaissance and further back as well. I knew about the link between the Jewish scientific knowledge during the Renaissance and the discoveries that stemmed from Portugal. And, Belém Tower is actually a gateway to Lisbon. So it was only appropriate to be inspired by something that spoke both to Jewish history and to the history of Portugal and, by the way, to the history of discovery of the world. I think that people will be really amazed to see a dramatic building, a dramatic contemporary building, which is telling the story of their own country, the story told to the Portuguese people, not just to tourists from abroad, but their own history and how important that history of diversity and the Jewish history of Portugal, how important it is to the society in general. I think that's going to be something that will inspire many people, young people particularly. I see the art of architecture really as an art of bringing people together. It's really about a social, cultural communication of how people come together and what do they share and how do they see a hope of the future. So the fact that I named this museum Tikva, it's based on hope, which is, by the way, a deeply Jewish idea that the world cannot go on without hope, because we see so many catastrophes, but we also see amazing developments of humanity. So yes, that was part of my inspiration, and of course, Portuguese culture in particular, because I'm not just a great fan of Pessoa and his astonishment at the world, but so many great Portuguese artists, writers, architects have been part of my life. I'm a great admirer of many Portuguese architects, and I had, Portuguese architects, young architects working in my office when I was working on the Jewish Museum in Berlin. So yes, this is really an amazing project for me in Lisbon. To me, memory is the ground of building. All of architecture is depending on memory. Beyond the earth, beyond the digging, toward the foundations, we find memory. And memory is what orients us to the world, what gives us a view of where we are, where we're going, where have we been. Without memory, we would be really just nothing. So yes, memory is the ground. And of course, for Jewish history and Jewish future in Portugal and in the world, memory is really a key, because the story of the past will tell us a lot about what we must do and how the future will be. For the first time, and I was kind of struck by the lightning, by the amazing luck to be able to see that landscape with its stunning light, and also looking at the Belém Tower that I knew because I had visited Portugal many, many decades before. The whole moment was really a moment of eureka that inspired me to create this particular design.